verse 1. The purpose of thoughts and actions are for ma'at, to bring justice, peace, unity to the person. That's the purpose of the fairy tales, to present ma'at. But the purpose of thoughts in European culture is to control nature, control others, and for power. To dominate, in other words. To dominate and be supreme in their way of thinking. In African mind, thoughts are connected holistically. A spiritual thought is connected to an intellectual thought, is connected to a physical thought, is connected to rhythm, is connected to color. It's all connected holistically. But in the European mind, thoughts are connected by fragmented ideas. Divide and conquer, I believe, is what we usually say. Now, we're looking at the foundation of these fairy tales, the mind, the construction of the mind that created them. Now we're going to go into the true story of the three little pigs. We're going to reveal it and see the dynamic that's played, why we always have these threes all the time in European culture. We're going to understand what the wolf is about, how men are associated with wolf, being a wolf. This is a sexual symbolism. We're going to understand about pigs and what that reveals. We're going to get into the true story of the three pigs and other fairy tales, as they are called, which actually are myths. Now, I'm going to show you this. Now, this is what a child sees. This is an innocent picture. Totally innocent, but it's loaded with symbols of European culture. Loaded with symbols. We have the forest. The king of the forest. All the stories take place in the forest. Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Robin Hood, they take place in the forest, because the forest is where growth and development occurred, where we took a person called Osiris to the swamps, papyrus, to the swamp area with the papyrus grass and the trees, and he was reborn again in the swamp forest, you see? So they're depicting this forest to show regrowth and regeneration. Forests also symbolize danger, as Little Red Robin Hood, Hansel and Gretel, and we'll go through all of those stories to show you how danger is associated with nature, with the trees, with nature. And the witches always live in the forest. Witches, wolves, bears, all the dangers in the forest. And there's always in a house scene, Hansel and Gretel's house, Little Red Robin Hood's house. All the fairy tales take place in this forest where it's growth and development, but there's also danger there. Now we're just breaking down the symbols here. The symbol of blood. We know that we had the Pied Piper. The Pied Piper played the flute, and the Pied Piper represents the animal mind. The animal mind pulling out the animalism in people's being. That's why the Pied Piper was playing the flute to the children and pulling out the truth. So this is a symbolism of evilness here. The dish and the spoon represents the penis, the bowl represents the vagina. The symbolism. The image is there. The conscious mind says it's not there. The subconscious mind, all of this registers. All of it. The blue bowl, the red. We always associate red shoes. In The Wizard of Oz, the red. Red Robin Hood is always red in the theme, somewhere embedded. So it's an innocent looking picture. The cow god Hathor, that's why you have cows. And that's why you have bells for school, because the cow god Hathor. See? The cow is jumping over the moon. The man is hidden in the moon. Remember the man in the moon mythology of the European culture? So we have the female and we have the man connected again. You see? And the cow is jumping over the moon, which means destroying the man. Because it's believed in European mythology, fairy tales, that the vagina destroys the man's potency, destroys his penis. And this is that symbolism embedded there. But the fairy tale, the nursery rhyme sounds quite harmless. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such a sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. See, they're calling out the spirit of sexual excitation. The cow gets involved sexually with the moon, and then the dog, which you call a man, a dog, or a wolf, has fun, enjoys himself, laughs, and he calls it a sport, which rape is a sport, and then the sexual intercourse, and he can run away with the sex of the lady or cow. That's what is embedded in that sort of fairy tale that we take as being very innocent. We're going to go over some more in a minute. Remember I was saying that the red is associated with aggression, it's associated with vitality, strength, blood. The red crown of Lord Delta, that's where they got it from Africa. It's also associated with whores, red. They have a red light district where you can have bi-sex for women. We're going back and we're going to get into these myths and see the relevance of the Greek myths. See how they relate today, that the movies are no more than an extension of the fairy tales, and the fairy tales are no more than an extension of the European mind. And the European mind is extended and built on its culture and its belief system, which is embedded in the fairy tales, which extend themselves to the movies, which you think are very different, like the Men in Black. It's the same theme that you're taught with the fairy tales, the Men in Black, with the Rumpelstiltskin and this kind of evil force. But we'll go over that. There's no difference between the movies you're seeing, 48 Hours, the Men in Black, Enemy of the People, whatever the theme is always tied back. It's always one program to go to capture evil by the wit of your mind, the wit of your intelligence, which comes out of the Asante spider stories. This is where the Greeks stole these stories from. They stole them from Africans. We have the tree, as a lot of you are used to hearing about the tree of life, the Ankh. We have the tree of life and the tree of death. This isn't going into African folk tales. The tree of life and the tree of death. We have this major themes. We have a message that you get from God, and this message is carried to the people. This is the message theme. And the message is that people can be reborn again or they can die. And the message sometimes is carried by a rabbit or by a snake. For instance, like the Hottentots, they say that the moon told this message to the rabbits. And the rabbits had the message and were supposed to give it to Adam and Eve that they could be born again if they followed Ma'at. But the rabbit got a little confused there and told them the wrong message. See, he perverted and changed the message. And so he told Adam and Eve that they would die. And the moon got mad with the rabbit and threw a stick at the rabbit and split the rabbit's lip. And that's why rabbits have a split in their lip, according to our African fairy tales or myths. Even in the 90s of East Africa, we have that same story with a dog. The dog is supposed to be telling the story, and the dog's supposed to say you can be reborn or resurrected again in 3 days after death. But when the dog came to tell man, that man laughed, you see. And the dog made the dog mad, so therefore man dies now. The dog was telling man that he could be reborn again after 3 days after his death. That's why we have wakes. See, the fairy tales of the griots are connecting the children to the culture, so we still have wakes that connect us back to this Nande story of East Africa based on the fact that God has brought us this message of rebirth and regeneration. Or you can get into the Masawas, people of Botswana, which is basically about a Kalahari desert, where you call southern Rhodesia today, where you have the message from God being brought to you by a turtle and a rabbit. The message is that man can be reborn again. So the message was given to a turtle and a rabbit, and of course the turtle moves slow and the rabbit moves fast. So the rabbit came to man first, and the rabbit had a bad memory. So he told the man that you'll be born, but you'll die, and you won't be born again. The turtle finally got to man and gave man the correct answer, but since the turtle got there so late, the man didn't believe him. That comes out of the Masawas people of Botswana. And you have that same kind of theme repeated again with the Wabindi of East Africa, where they say that God visited the earth and he was trying to tell man that he could be reborn again. And he was delivering this message to men and creatures, but man was sleeping, the creatures were sleeping. The only one that heard God, she, God, was the snake. And so the snake was being able to be reborn again. That's why they shed their skin. This kind of folk tale connects you back to your culture. Our Arawaks of Guyana, they had the same kind of story where man was following all the laws by nature, and animals could be reborn again, but man had to die because they got the story mixed up. Where I'm from, in the Carolinas, the Sea Islands, the Yuputas of the Congo, for instance, said that God called the moon people and the earth people, but the moon people came first, and man came late, so man wasn't denied rebirth, so the moon could be reborn again. That's why you get a full moon, a half moon, a waxy moon, and a waning moon, because the moon can have rebirth where man cannot, because the message was given to the moon people and the earth people, but man came too late when God called him to give him the message. And we have the same theme repeated over and over again with the galas of East Africa, where they say a bird brought the message. And the bird stopped to eat, wanted something to eat from the snake, and he said, "Snake, if you give me something to eat, I'll tell you what God told me." And so the snake told, the bird told the message to the snake, and the snake is able to be reborn. Again, shedding its skin is rebirth, so that's why snakes shed their skin, because they gave the bird some food. So these little folk tales tie